August 30th, 1983, XTC released their sixth studio album titled Mummer. This album was born from chaos, new standards set by the band, as well as reinvention. I've been brushing up on my XTC knowledge. Towards the end of the 90s, I guess probably about 97 or so, I picked up one of these books, this one here, about XTC, a biography. And then in 1999, I picked up the book Song Stories, which talks about each and every song they ever recorded. Very good books. If you ever find them anywhere, you should pick them up. They're good reads. As I was going over this album and listening to it again, because it's been a while since I've listened to it in its entirety, but I listened to it and it took me back to a place of where I was really first getting into XTC. And once again, this stack of CDs you see behind me, most of them I bought from a place called Circuit City, and a lot of them I got for $5 a pop, including this one. This one was $5 at Circuit City, $4.99 each. But we can get more into that another time. For now, I'm going to stick with Mummer, just talk about this album, what my favorite tracks are on the album. As you heard from the opening, I was playing Deliver Us from the Elements, which is hands down my favorite track on that album. Anyone who would question Colin Moulding's songwriting, they cannot question it after hearing that song. It is literally one of my favorite songs ever that I've ever heard. And it's my favorite Colin Moulding song, hands down. It's amazing. So let me get into the history of what created this album. March 18th, 1982, XTC was on tour in Europe. On stage in Paris, in the middle of Respectable Street, as they were playing it, Andy walked off of stage and basically had a nervous breakdown and said he didn't want to play live anymore. However, management and the record label, being as persuasive and forceful as they can be, forced them to play or forced them to go to the United States and complete the tour there. Well, they played one more show, which was in San Diego, and that was where they played their last show ever. So technically, the four-piece lineup of XTC, which was Terry Chambers, Dave Gregory, Andy Partridge, and Colin Moulding, and I know not exactly in that order, but anyway, those four would play together for the last time in San Diego in late March of 1982. From there, they all went back to England. Terry Chambers went to Australia for a little bit with his wife to deal with some things. And when they came back into the studio, which was in September of 1982, Terry Chambers was not in a good mood. He was not happy with the direction that XTC had chosen to go in, which was basically that they were not going to play live anymore. And he said that was the main reason that he was in a band, because he wanted to play live. He didn't really like recording, he had said. He admitted that they were getting better and better at recording as time went on, and it was getting easier for him. But for him, the main goal and the main object of the game was playing the live shows. And they were just starting to see success coming from English Settlement. Since his Working Overtime was doing really well, of course, it was on MTV. This was like the first time I really, truly remembered hearing XTC was since his Working Overtime as a kid. From there, they started recording and they started doing demos, and then they went into the Manor once again, which is Richard Branson's studio from Virgin. And while they were recording, I think he did, a lot of people think that he recorded on Love on a Farm Boy's Wages, which he did record on, but the songs that they kept his drum tracks on was Toys, which is a great track on that album, Beating of Hearts, and Wonderland. And the funny thing about Wonderland is he actually was inspired by the beat from Sly and Robbie's Don't Stop the Music. So that's the drum beat that you're hearing during Wonderland. It's almost like it's spot on. You've got to listen to it. I can't play it here because of those things that come up, and I don't want to deal with them. You know, the things that everyone's talking about with music channels on YouTube and all that, so that I don't have to fight with people about copyright claims and stuff like that. Anyway, so it was in the middle of Love on a Farm Boy's Wages where Terry Chambers had had enough of dealing with Andy, and he calmly, as they put it in the book, he calmly just said, you know what? I'm not feeling it. I don't dig the songs. He didn't say it exactly like this. I'm just giving you my own version of it. But he quit. So he quit in the middle of that song. And that was it. From there on out, they were a three-piece, and they would remain so until the end, where they were a two-piece for volume 1 and volume 2 of Apple Venus. I want to talk about the tracks on this album, what makes it a very valid album for me. I think it is a dark, experimental, they call it pastoral at times, but I definitely find it to be dark, but not in so much of a depressing way. It is very earthy, but it has this very calm yet dark without being too depressing feel to it, if that makes any sense. And Deliver Us from the Elements is a really good example of that. It's just one of those songs that makes you think. It's the perfect overcast day album. It's not a rainy day record. It doesn't really qualify as a rainy day record. I'm going to say it partially qualifies as a rainy day record, but for the most part, for me, it is the kind of album that I would prefer to listen to really early in the morning, definitely on an overcast day, on a cool day, not a hot day. It's not a warm weather record to me. The Beating of Hearts is what the album starts with. It is a very big foreshadowing track. You know, like you hear the Beating of Hearts and you kind of know right from the start. Actually, you don't even kind of. You know right from the start when you hear the Beating of Hearts that you're going to hear a different kind of album from XTC, a very experimental album, and also you're going to hear more worldly like music coming from them. So this song could have easily been on Skylarking. It definitely could have been on Oranges and Lemons. It could have been on None Such, and it absolutely could have been on Apple Venus Volume 1. Like really, it just had that feeling to it. So the album starts off with that, and then it rolls into Wonderland, which is the second track. This is a track I really, really like a lot. I love Colin Moulding's voice on this album. His vocals on this album are superb, really. It's not depressing. Wonderland is not a depressing song. It's very calm. It's very serene. Love on a Farm Boy's Wages is another good one, and this was really the standout track for the record. The record label was also pressuring XTC during the recording of this album because they're like, if you guys aren't going to tour, then you need to come up with some hits. And they were really pushing them hard. They used the producer, was it Steve Nye? Or anyway, he had produced Japan's 10 drum record. So anyway, they brought him in, but they later admitted that he wasn't the right guy for XTC and to produce them. So, looking back on it, XTC thinks that he wasn't the right person for it. But I think it's a good sounding record, and I think it went pretty well. Great Fire is another awesome track on this album. I mean, it really, like I said, the album really kind of moves along very calmly until you get to about track 7, which is Toys. The lyrics are super silly. They're fun. And it really lifts you up. And you kind of feel like once you roll in the gold, you feel like the album is, okay, it's picking up from here. It's getting a little bit happier. Once you get to the track that follows Gold, Procession Towards Learning Land, this is when it starts to go back into this weird, dark, circusy, carnival type place. I don't know. It just starts to go a little bit back on the weird thing. And then you get Desert Island, which is another, I would say this is probably my second favorite track on the album. That and Human Alchemy, they're pretty close. They're a close tie. And Me and the Wind. But I'm going out of order now. So you get Desert Island, which is great, and then Human Alchemy. You know, it's a little tough when you listen to the lyrics, but Human Alchemy is another great song on that album. I really love the music and the melody, the harmony. All of that is great on there. So after that track, it picks back up and you get Ladybird. With In Loving Memory of a Name, it becomes this song that you would almost want to hear at a funeral. It's kind of an epitaph in a way, if that makes any sense. At least that's how I gathered the lyrics when I heard it the first time. From there, you move on to Me and the Wind. I love the melody. I love the music, everything about it. I like the lyrics a lot. But once again, this album, it really does have this sunset kind of feel to it. Like in a weird way, it's like the perfect soundtrack to the end of life, if that makes any sense. It's a very humbling record. And then, of course, the last track on this CD is Funk Papa Roll, which is it's an upbeat track, a great track to end with. The lyrics are very sarcastic and very telling about the music business. It's kind of like The Liar Bird, which is on Big Express. So It's the same thing, just talking about all of the cliches and the trappings of the music industry. It's no joke, and they're warning you. And they're warning other musicians out there, and also telling people who are lovers of music that not everything is what it seems. So once again, this is a great album. I highly recommend that you check it out. Are you a fan of XTC? If so, are you a fan of the album Mummer? Please let us know what your favorite tracks are from this album, and if you could only pick one track, what would it be? I want to thank you again for watching, and I'll have another video out to you soon.